Hello, Anita.
Hi, Lilou. How are you?
I'm doing so well. It's so good to see you again on Skype a year later, after our first interview.
Yeah, it's been a year already. The time has flown. 1 year in August.
1 year, and I'm really, really amazed how many people got interested in your story and have seen this particular video. Over 300,000 video views on YouTube alone. And I'm not even talking
Yeah.
of the number of people that have uploaded it on their own channel and then translated it in other languages. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for your story, and I know a lot of people are. So this is wonderful to have this opportunity to speak again.
Wow. Thank you for organizing this again. I thought, oh, what a great way to celebrate the anniversary of that video. Because that, of all the interviews I have ever done, that one has had the most hits.
Yeah. Well, I must say that, of course, Dr. Wayne Dyer, that introduced us, has widely spoken about this video throughout all his conferences, and you've been traveling around the world, from my understanding, with him. Your book is
Yes.
now out, and people that want to know more about your story, of course, I encourage them to get your book, Dying to Be Me, which is my journey from cancer to near-death experience to true healing. And this is what we're going to talk about, your lessons from this near-death experience. And this is why why do you think so many people got interested about your story?
I think it's because I focus on the reason for living, and that's because the biggest lessons that I brought with me after nearly dying, I feel that nearly dying taught me how to live. And I find that when I speak about my experience, other than actually speaking about getting sick from the cancer and experiencing the other realm, when I speak about the lessons, my lessons are really focused on living life and living life to the fullest. I don't really spend a lot of time talking about death itself. And I think maybe that's why a lot of people are attracted to my story.
Yeah, and these near-death experience, because I just want to summarize a little bit your story, or maybe you can, but in 2002 you were diagnosed with a lymphoma, cancer.
That's right.
And in 2006 you had this transition. I mean, you went towards death. You've met death.
Yes. Yes, it was. I reached end-stage cancer. It was stage 4B in 2006, and my organs shut down, and the tumors had spread all over my body. And I went into a coma, and the doctors had told my family that these were my final hours. And that was when I felt my transition into the other realm and learned a lot of things. Amongst them, I learned what caused my cancer. I also learned that it wasn't my time, and I had the choice to come back.
You speak a lot in your book about the fear, and when we read, we feel a lot the fear that you felt once you were diagnosed, but you also speak of all the fear that you felt during your whole lifetime that might be one of the main reasons of your cancer. I mean, did you try to reason all this and how this came about?
Yeah, in fact, one of the things that I learned from being in the other realm was I was in like this state of incredible clarity. I had so much clarity as to why I had the cancer, why I was in that situation. So it was like I could see my life, every decision, everything, every thought I had, every action I had in my entire life summed up together. The total sum of everything brought me to that point in my life at death's door. And I could see why I was there. And if I summed it up in one word, that word would be fear. Because I used to fear everything. You know, I used to fear not being good enough. I used to fear displeasing people, not meeting people's expectations. I used to be a people pleaser. So I feared everything even about not being spiritual enough. I even feared death. I feared the afterlife. I used to
feel
chemotherapy,
and
I feared chemotherapy. I feared cancer. My best friend had cancer, so I feared getting cancer. I also feared things like things that I believed caused cancer. Everything from using overuse of mobile phones, microwaves, and, you know, all kinds of things. And the more I would read about things that caused cancer in order to try and prevent it, or in order to help my friend who had cancer, the more I would read about it, the more fearful I became about getting it, because it seemed to me that everything caused cancer.
Yeah.
And then when I was diagnosed with cancer, oh my God, then of course I was totally in fear. But when I was diagnosed, what happens, unfortunately, is a lot of well-meaning people who believe they're helping you, they would send me emails that, oh, this should help you, you should avoid this because of your cancer, you should avoid this. And it was as though I had to avoid everything, you know, like basically, it seemed to me that living in the 21st century caused cancer.
Yeah.
Everything.
And so your husband had kind of to be a gatekeeper at some point, because none of it would really help. But you went through, you tried to find a holistic way, I mean, another a non-traditional medical approach. You tried everything, because I guess when we're diagnosed with cancer, it's kind of, let me try it all. I mean, you even went to India and tried Ayurveda and all of it.
Yes.
And to finally come back in your own country to see your family, and then you were injected with more fears. What could you advise to people that go through this? Because maybe it's not cancer that we have, but it might be something else, and we're ready to do a bit everything, and sometimes we go a little bit overboard. I mean, do you have some advice in that?
Yeah. Yes, I do. In fact, one of the things that I dealt with, what causes the fear, is the overload of information. And so there's a lot of confusion, because no matter what information you get, as soon as you start doing research, you will find conflicting information. You will always find conflicting information to anything. Mm-hmm. If you choose to look, you will find conflicting information. So first of all, my advice is to follow your gut feeling, you know, and stop with all the research and the Googling, because I had people that told me, you must research more. Information is power. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes too much information creates more fear and causes more confusion. So I would actually suggest to people, number one, is follow your gut feeling. Don't continuously just do more and more research. The other thing that's also really important, even before that, is do not treat anything in your life, including your illness, whatever is your illness, whether it's cancer or something else, do not treat it like a battle. Don't fight it. Work with it. Embrace it. Love where you are now. And then listen to what it's trying to tell you. Identify what gifts it's brought you, and work with it. Work with it. You can research it, but research it from a point of love, not from a point of fear. And only when you approach your challenges, your health challenges, from the point of view of love, can you actually overcome all that fear. So in other words, it's like, okay, I embrace where I am. This is not a battle. This is my body. This is my body communicating to me. It's got a message for me. Even if I don't know the message right now, it's okay. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to love my illness. I'm going to work with the illness, whatever it is. And I am now going to start look into what can make me feel better. So the first and foremost, it's not a battle. Don't fight your own body. Work with it. That's the main.
Yeah. Yeah, I love when you talked about being centered, and also that being centered is finding our place in the center of the universe, and kind of allowing the situation or the healing process to also come to us. And this is also something that we can use to find our own life purpose. I mean, this is not just a conversation about cancer here. It's a big, bold, universal conversation.
Yes, it is. And if I can add something even to the perspective of having cancer, just in what we were saying, is that one of the things I used to feel, what used to drive me to do the research, is this feeling like, if I don't get the answer, if I don't find it, the cancer is going to eat me up. It's like a a race against cancer. That's the fear talking. That's the fear driving you. And in fact, it's that very fear that is actually feeding the cancer. So the thing is to just stop and just stop. I learned that I have to stop my mind anytime I get into that spiraling fear about anything in life. It's really just stop and remind myself there's no battle, there's no race. I'm at the center of my universe. I'm only fighting myself, I'm only battling myself, so stop. Just embrace myself wherever I am and just remind myself that this is my life, there's no fight, there's nothing out there, it's all in here. And then from that point, just start to feel, okay, what now makes me feel good? What brings me joy? It's getting back into that place. And also, I would also say, don't make your life about the illness. Don't obsess over the illness. That's another thing that causes fear, is obsessing over the illness, obsessing over anything, even if it's a job loss or anything. And these are how we lose our place in the center. If we talk about the center of the whole universe, we lose our place in the center of ourselves. This is how we get lost. I mean, and I really mean how we lose ourselves is when we start to spiral into this feeling of fear. And so we wake up every day and all we obsess about is that, whatever it is, whether it's the financial situation or the health situation, and we make every day about battling that situation. And all that does is that it creates even more fear, and it gets us spiraling further and makes us feel even more lost.
So it's kind of, you're recommending then, if I hear this correctly, to have this unconditionality about ourselves, to learn unconditional love and just accepting things as they are and sit in there. So even though if you were seeing your body little by little, I mean, becoming, I guess, ugly in some way, I mean, and you were hurting and you were seeing the sadness of others. So what a challenge to meet with unconditional love inside of that. And we all have events, you know, really that are pushing us to really lose faith and to lose this love and to be angry and go through depression. Those are phases you had to go through. And at some point you were kind of saved by this near-death experience. So I'm sure some people are even thinking, but gosh, I wish I had this near-death experience, so then I would have this feeling and know this place. But to get there in life, on Earth, is a big paradigm shift without having to experience what's above or below or everywhere.
Yes, I know. Sometimes I feel, you know, there are moments where I feel, most of the time, in fact, I feel very blessed that and thankful for the grace of having that experience. But on the other hand, there are times where I feel that those that haven't come back, those that went on, are the ones that are blessed, because that was such an amazing state. And perhaps the ones that went on are actually the blessed ones. And maybe I'm one of the unlucky ones that actually came back to again face this physical world, because it is a lot more challenging over here. And also talking about, you brought up a very, very good point about watching myself deteriorate, watching the depression. I absolutely went through all of that as my body deteriorated. Now, a lot of people during that time believed that positive thinking can help you through anything. To an extent it can, but what that belief was doing to me, because many people would say to me, you have to try and think positive. I started to believe that it was my thoughts that created my illness and that I wasn't thinking positive enough. So constantly I was judging myself that, why am I feeling depressed? I've got to get out of this depression feeling. I've got to feel more positive. And it's because I'm feeling negative that I'm going down this spiral. I've got to think more positive. So my near-death experience actually taught me it's not just positive thinking. It's more about being yourself and loving yourself regardless of what you're going through. That's more important than thinking positive. And that's what I mean. Like, no matter, even if my body is deteriorating, the idea was, of course, I didn't do this at the time. I didn't know this. But what I learned from the experience and what I tell other people is that no matter where you are right now, no matter what you're doing, no matter what state of your life, the first thing to do is to learn to love yourself. And for many people, that's a challenge. That's very, very difficult. Like, if I were to ask you to write on a sheet of paper all the things about you that you think you need to improve, all the things that are not good enough. Yeah, most people would do that. And most people say, oh, I could just keep writing on. And whether I give people 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's not enough. Now, if I said to you on a sheet of paper, write all the things you love about yourself, everything that's amazing, all your positive qualities. Most people, they might write a couple of things and then they're stuck. They can't go very far. Why? Why is it that we are habitually in this frame of mind where it's so easy for us to constantly be thinking of things that are wrong with us, but not things that are right with us? Why are we so self-critical? Why is it so easy to judge ourselves, to have this inner voice that's constantly beating ourselves up, but not the other way around? For me, I believed it was that caused my cancer. It was that.
And also, how can we judge that when something happens to us, it's a bad thing? How do we know really what it's the gift and the present it's going to bring?
Exactly, because if you ask me today, I would say the cancer is the best gift I've ever had. And we don't know this when we're looking at life from a very limited and narrow perspective. We don't know this. And so we can only know. Thank you.
I love the cover. I just want to show it again because it is, I mean, none of this conversation would not happen. The millions of people that have heard your message, your connection with Wayne Dyer, what you're bringing to this big consciousness, this big global shift happening on the planet, and all of it. So it's so visible. We're even holding it. Sorry.
And it's totally thanks to Wayne Dyer that all this, the book came about and the story is publicized. I mean, bless him, he's been such an amazing influence in my life.
But how can we judge so for you it was definitely, even for the 4 years, I mean, you had huge lemon-sized tumors and then you were really, really hurting. I mean, let's tell the truth. It was tough.
I was in pain. I was in total pain. I would not wish this on my worst enemy, what I went through, where I couldn't even lie down without choking. I would not wish this on anybody. Yeah. When my muscles deteriorated, my skin just opened up into lesions so the toxins could come out. It was just the most painful thing. But after my near-death experience, and in fact in the clarity of the near-death experience, what I understood that this was just my own energy turned against me, but because I had always turned myself against me. It was a reflection of my own beliefs about myself. It's not about positive thinking per se. Yes, positive thinking helps, but you have to get to a place where you feel positive, not just plaster over what you're feeling, because what then happens is I was beating myself up for not thinking more positively. I was beating myself.
Sorry, you're beating yourself. No, I was going to say, I really feel that it's about really this transparency, this authenticity. It's us in front of ourselves. I mean, it's just you and you. Me and me. There's no, it's really, it comes down to that.
Yes, it's me and me. It's like, who am I? Am I being myself? Am I being authentic? Am I allowing myself to express who I am? Or am I constantly processing and being who I think other people want me to be? Am I constantly reacting or acting because I want the reactions, the correct reactions from other people? Am I being this person because I want to be accepted, or am I being this person because this is who I am? It's all that kind of thing. And that is how we judge ourselves. The fact that we feel we have to suppress who we are and be someone else, that is a judgment. That's a self-judgment. That's a signal you're sending yourself that I'm not good enough. So I've got to keep trying to be someone else. I'm not spiritual enough. I've got to work harder at being spiritual. How can you not be spiritual? We are spiritual. We're born spiritual.
Yeah. And from that place of total alignment, of centeredness, miracles are possible, and it feels like I could feel this kind of force we're emanating, this light, this frequency that is so powerful that people cannot always put words on it, but the transformation happens there. The same way that dolphins are in the ocean in Hawaii and all around the world, and when you meet them, just at their contact, you feel transformed. So there's really nothing for us to do, isn't there?
There is nothing for you to actually do or to physically go and search and chase or pursue. It's about being. It's about being. And when you are in that space of being, it's that space that you talk about where miracles are possible. And even if somebody chooses not to come back to physical life, like even if somebody has cancer, and even if they reach the end, and if they don't turn around, that's also fine, because maybe that's their journey. Because it's not the end. Just because we've ceased to express through the body, it's not the end of our journey. You know, and I'll give you an example with that. My father and I, we had a very rocky relationship when he was in physical life. But when I met him in the other realm, all he had for me was pure, unconditional love. That's all he had for me. And I understood that in physical, we're limited by our beliefs, our cultures, our values. So everything we express, it gets filtered. You know, it gets filtered through these things. And we do everything the best we know how. So my father was loving me in the best way he knew how, in physical. But because I kind of grew up in a different culture and generation, there was a lot of clash. But when we're without our culture and without everything, there's only pure, unconditional love. And I feel my father around me all the time. I feel him guiding me. I have a better relationship with him today, and I love him more unconditionally today than I did when he was in the physical form. And it's highly possible that for some people, their work is easier after they cross over. You just don't know. You know, we don't know. Sometimes when people choose to cross over, it's not because they didn't love their loved ones enough. It could be because they loved them very much, and that was the better choice for the people they loved.
I like that version.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yes. What are some of your recommendations for the family and loved ones that are around somebody? And again, it's for cancer, but it's also in life. How can we be around that? I mean, would something have helped you when you were in coma that people around the bed could have done, or at any point that you would have liked to hear or to feel, since you could feel really everything from my understanding? You would just go and think of a person and you would immediately feel their emotions. So is there a way that people in similar situation, or even if we have friends that lost their job or that are going through bankruptcy, and we want to help, but we just don't know how, and it feels like we're adding to the drama instead of creating space for the person just to be.
Yeah, well, if somebody's in a coma, be aware that they can hear you. Really, the chances are extremely high that they can hear you, and they can hear sometimes not only just the people in the room, but beyond. They can very often even hear or sense what their loved ones are thinking and going through. So, of course, you will feel sad and everything, but bring comfort to the person in the coma. Talk to them. Tell them how much you love them. But if they want to move on, give them that space to move on. Give them the permission that it's okay to move on. I set you free to do what you feel you need to do. But just be aware that they can hear you. More importantly, what I'd like to also share is if you have a loved one that's very, very sick, they need to know that they are loved unconditionally. And if you're caring for somebody that's very sick, they need to feel that everything that you're doing for them, you're not doing it out of an obligation, but you're doing it because you love them. Absolutely because you love them. And absolutely whatever choice of healing they choose, whether it's Ayurvedic or naturopathic or Chinese medicine or chemotherapy or radiation or whatever it is, do not tell them that they have made the wrong choice. Support them in their choice. Mm-hmm. That is really, really important. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if you have strong opinions against their choice, but that is the choice they've chosen, do not tell them your opinions at that time, because that can create a lot of fear, or what will happen is that they will start to cut you out from their life as they need to go through whatever treatment, because they need to feel secure. They need to feel that this treatment is healing them. So again, if you're caring for somebody that is going through really serious illness, whatever treatment they choose, help them to in fact feel and visualize that their choice of treatment is actually healing them. They need to feel it. They need to believe it. They need to feel better as whatever it is, whatever treatment is being digested, ingested, they need to feel that every cell in their body is rejuvenating. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's chemo, radiation, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. They need to be surrounded by people who are going to make them feel that they are healing. Mm-hmm. They really need that.
As much as you went through your own journey, the people, your loved ones, have gone through their own journey. And it feels like it's also an opportunity for them, and it has been an opportunity for them, whether they accept it then or not, but to move forward in their own journey into oneness as well.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey for many people in my life. You know, my closest family stuck by me right through. There were many friends who, during that time, because they didn't agree with my choice of treatment, I actually stopped seeing them. But then years later, or after I recovered, I reconnected with them again, and there was total understanding. There were some people I lost along the way, but everybody has gone through their own journey. Mm-hmm. And so, but thankfully, my closest family have stuck right by me. My closest friends have stuck by me, and I've made a lot of new friends in the journey, and it's been quite an amazing journey.
A lot new friends.
Really, a lot, yes. And you know, people say, wow, that cancer damn near killed you. I say, no, that cancer saved my life. That cancer was a gift. I wouldn't turn back the clock. I wouldn't change that for anything. Wow. I really wouldn't.
How do you see now what is real? I mean, how do you see reality? What do you want to tell us or teach us or transmit to us about that?
I feel now, for me, reality is very different. I used to, again, believe that I had to pursue things, you know, just like healing for cancer. I felt I had to do the research. I have to pursue the healing. I have to do it all. And I wonder if it was like a race against the cancer. My life was like a race, you know, like getting I used to work in the corporate field, and that's also very competitive. I used to be in the fashion accessory business, and it was very, very competitive, and I've been through downturns and losing my job and all of that stuff. Now, I would never go back to that, because I don't even believe that. I believe that is the illusion that people buy into, and life doesn't need to be like that. It really doesn't. I don't see time in the same way. I don't feel that we have a race against time anymore, because everything is possible. Everything exists simultaneously. And if we can be still, we can actually fall into a completely different reality. And to give you my own example of actually, this is after my near-death experience. I started sharing my story on the internet, and I wasn't doing it to, you know, for any other reason except to help other people. I wasn't even using my full name. And I had another job. I started working as a intercultural trainer, where I was working with people talking about Chinese culture, Hong Kong culture. But just in my spare time, I was writing blogs and I was answering people's questions about cancer, about being near death, about the other realm, and so on. But I reached a point where I was attacked by a group of skeptics. And they were very, very persistent. They started saying a lot of things that brought back a little bit of the fear back into my mind. They started questioning me in such a way about, so what if this has happened to you? How does it help anybody else? And all kinds of things they were saying to me. Because of that, I stopped. I actually stopped posting completely. And I went into that little bit of fear, and then I thought, maybe, you know, I was wrong or whatever. So I started focusing on my work a little bit more. And then I started to fall back into some of my old routines. But then one day, a friend of mine just invited me to come and speak about my near-death experience and in her healing center. And I said, no, I don't do that anymore. And she said, what, are you crazy? I've heard when you speak, you're so passionate. That's who you are. It'll really help the people who come into my center. So I went and did it for her. And when I spoke, I realized that, yeah, that's really who I am. And so that night, I decided, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm just going to allow. And so I found that center again. I found that place within me, that place of allowing. No more pursuing. Let's just see what happens. Yeah. The next morning, in my email box was an email from Hay House saying, Wayne Dyer has read your story and we'd like you to publish a book. So this is what I mean. You know, it's like the universe, there are things happening in the background, and we don't know. We don't know what's going on. All time is not linear. It's all happening, and you can grasp a completely different point of time if your state is just in a more relaxed state rather than a more controlled state. When we're in fear, we're in that controlled state. It's what I talk about with the warehouse, with the torchlight. We're controlling where we want that beam to shine. But if we can relax and diffuse our focus, it's like then all the possibilities, everything in the warehouse suddenly comes into our reach. And it just depends which one we allow into our lives.
Because with a thought, we can, as you're explaining, go through a future event and see the scenario and what can happen then, and then choose to go there. But we could also change that thought about that event, and it could be a positive one, and we can just let that be there. So just our own, it's quite amazing when we slow down the time and just look in this stillness, how you can actually shift from one possibility to the next, and how we can see and realize that we're co-creators or creators.
Yes. We are creators, yes. Because when we are in the state of fear, our thought is locked on to something negative, and that's what's creating the fear. So our thought, once it's locked on to that, it's like we are then more likely to move towards that because we've just locked into that. So this is why it's always better to relax and not to believe or not to, if we can just step back. And the way to snap out of fear, I say, because sometimes it's very hard to just think yourself out of fear. So the thing to do is to distract yourself and find something to do which brings you into a state of joy. Find something that just changes your state completely. So whatever it is, whether it's music or art or going out in nature, just do something completely different, or meditation, absolutely anything. Get out of that state of fear which you're locked into. Just get out of that. Stay out of that. And when you're in this, what I call it, a diffused state, you know, because being in a state of fear is a very sharp focus state where you're kind of locked into one state. get into a diffuse state, get back into the state where all the possibilities lay there in front of you and you haven't locked into any one. And you're open. It's like, I'm open. I feel like I'm in a state of ambiguity. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm open. When you're open, and then you can find a state of joy and just follow your bliss, follow your joy, that's when you find that the amazing possibilities start coming to you. We don't follow our joy enough, and that's the biggest problem right now, today, with everybody. We don't follow our joy. We do what we think we should do, rather than what our heart tells us to do. We don't do what makes our heart sing.
Yeah, but it feels too that there's a pretty big challenge that is coming to us, that is already there, but maybe because of fear we're not facing it totally. And I would love to hear, what is your perception on, you know, there's so many things that are kind of, we can see as going wrong in so many different industries, and one of them is the spirituality and the personal development. I think there is personally a lot of abuse and manipulation that is being done, and a lot of people are being deceived. And so we can be, and I've been personally challenged by some people that I've interviewed to remove those interviews, because each time you start stirring things up a little bit or going for what you believe, as you did with the near-death experience and being on stage, then there is this kind of tsunami that goes towards us. And then we have the choice whether to continue or not, and really strongly believe. But it feels to me like a lot of us right now are having to face and have to stand up for what we believe in, and act and ask for transparency from our leaders, and ask for a better world. But it shakes us up, truly. I mean, it really comes down to really being centered, doesn't it?
Yes, it does come down to being centered, but if I understand you correctly, you mean that also it's about fearing, like, say, other in this new way of thinking, or the way we're moving forward. You mean even fearing what people are saying, the messages that are coming? Is that what you mean also?
Not everybody there is good. And
yes,
we have to also love ourselves enough to not also take everything that comes our way, and also, if we want to take it to another state, also challenge these people. And there is the guru status, and you know that, being Indian and having been raised in India too, that it's a big one right there.
Exactly. Now I'm so happy you said all that, because one of the things that I also tell people is that you are your own guru, and that is so important. This is why it's so important to love yourself and to know that your answers are within. You know, I don't have answers for you. I can share my experience, and I share it only in the hope that it helps you, and that is the case with everybody. Nobody is your guru, at least not for your entire life. There are people, there are teachers that will appear along the way, but they are people who will touch you in different ways at different parts of your life. But it doesn't mean that they are in some way more superior than you. Nobody is more superior than you. We're all exactly equal. And when people realize that, it's not about, it's not really about so much about telling people not to guruize themselves. It's about telling people, don't guruize anyone else. You are your own guru. And when we all realize that, there will be nobody, you know, because nobody will worship these false gurus. Or they feed on people who worship them. Yeah. So
same thing for media that is reporting that is disinforming people, or like television, some information, or politicians. I mean, if there would be no followers in all those realms, they would not exist.
Exactly. If there are no followers, they would not exist, and that's exactly what I mean. So this is the thing. So even people who are giving false information and so on, if we didn't guruize people, they wouldn't exist.
And I think it's an important message too these days. Yeah,
it is a really important message, and it is an important message, and that's why it's so important for people to know how to access their own truth. Your own truth is in here. And it's a barometer. Now, if information you are receiving, whether it's from someone who's a self-proclaimed guru or whoever, if that information is actually making you feel fearful or making you feel worse about yourself, then don't follow them. Just don't follow them. It's not right for you. They could be right for somebody, but it's not right for you. It always has to feel freeing and liberating. It has to feel good for you. And I even tell people that even if things I say, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't listen to me. Discount it, discharge it. You can even think that I'm crazy. It's fine. I'd rather you did that than listen and then feel fearful, because the whole idea is about not feeling fearful. That's the whole idea.
Feeling the love. The love. The real love.
The real love. And the real love starts from actually loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Loving ourselves enough to know that we are our own guru.
Beautiful. Well, Anita, this is so delicious. I really, really look forward meeting you in person at the I Can Do It conference over in Glasgow, where you will be, and Wayne Dyer will be there. So this is in Scotland.
Yes.
Scotland, and for everybody that wants to come, it will be wonderful to meet everyone and get together, and I can't wait. I really I'm looking forward to that moment, and I want to thank you again for the courage that you have to do all these interviews, to travel, to share what's so for you with others. It takes definitely courage, and it takes a lot of time, and so thank you very, very much.
Thank you, as always. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Much, much love.
Bye.
Hop, so I turn this off.